So we're already halfway through October. I'm a little late getting this to you, but I still think that this is going to be a good month as far as 30-day challenge and the reading list. But before we dive into what we're doing, or at least what I'm doing for October, let's do a recap for September. For the challenge, as you will remember, I was going to be more deliberate with my language. I was trying to get rid of all of my filler words. And it was a good one. It was kind of frustrating. My wife ended up pointing out to me that I say totally like a 14-year-old girl. It was only a couple days after we got things started, and I realized that I do. It's kind of a way of affirmation. Somebody will say something, and I'll just be like, yeah, totally. And I do. I sound like a teenage girl, and it drove me crazy. But what's great is that I got to the point where I started to recognize it, and then I started to correct it. And so I haven't completely eradicated it from my vocabulary, but I've certainly gotten rid of it. One thing that's been really good about this, though, is that it's forced me to be much more thoughtful about the things that I say. And I already am pretty deliberate about the things that I say, but it forced me to kind of slow down and take even more of a thoughtful and deliberate approach to it, which is great because it lends more weight to what I'm saying. It helps me make sure that I'm actually communicating what I want to communicate. And for the most part, there's no real reason for me to be in a hurry to just kind of get thoughts or ideas out anyway. And so it's indicative of more confidence, more wisdom, and really there's been nothing but good that came from it. So it's one that I'm going to continue on with. And I think obviously you can take it to a point where you get ridiculous and you're too hypersensitive to what you say. But I've realized a few other habits of things that I say and do that I don't need to do. And I'm going to continue to work on those. It's funny because even as I'm just here talking to a camera, my speech pattern is very different than when I'm actually talking to somebody in person. And so especially as I do more and more videos, more podcasts, I'm going to continue to focus on being more deliberate with my language. Obviously I want it to still sound natural, but I want it to improve in a way that it just doesn't sound like I'm struggling for words like sometimes I feel like I do. As far as the book goes, it was Antifragile. My second time trying to get through this book, and I got further this time, but I still haven't finished it. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's such an academically leaning book. It was really very interesting, and I got so much more out of it the second time than I did the first time, but I still found myself doing a little bit of this kind of zombie listening, because I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving. That's really the only time that I have to read. And there would be days when I would be dealing with stuff with work or with the sites or kids or anything, and see, that's another lazy speech pattern. Whenever I do a list, I always finish it with "and anything else," and so I'm going to get better about that. Anyway, I would be listening to it, and I would find myself 10 minutes later not having any idea what it was that I listened to, because my brain was off doing other things. And a lot of times if I'm listening to something that's more storytelling, it's a little bit more conversational, then I can kind of get sucked out of my own head and get pulled back into whatever it is that I'm listening to. And so I would go back to listening to podcasts when I wasn't able to actually listen to the book. And so I've still got a few hours left, but I definitely plan on finishing that within the next month. And man, it's such a good book. There's so much good information in there. And that's one of the reasons why, because I didn't want to just power through it. I could obviously just power through it, but I didn't want to miss out on all the little gems that are in there just to complete my goal for the sake of doing that. So I'm going to continue with Antifragile once I finish up October's book, which is a shorter-ish one, and so I should have time to be able to do that. So moving on, October's challenge. This is one that I'm doing that is very specific, and so the way that I'm going to invite you to join me in on this is going to be a little bit different, but I think it's still very applicable regardless of what it is that you do with yourself. So if you follow me at all on Instagram, you notice I've been leaning a lot more over the last couple weeks towards doing these as kind of like little mini posts. It's really kind of fun. It's a challenge, and it forces me to crank something out every day. If I want to be more prominent within a larger audience or have more credibility amongst you guys as an audience, then you need to be producing more and more content. And my friend Baron reached out and he said, why don't you just turn those into mini blog posts? And the reason why is because it takes more time. For me to just bang it out on Instagram, it's a matter of taking a picture or pulling up one that I already have from a photo shoot, typing something out on my notes app, and then a little bit of copy and paste, wham bam, thank you ma'am, it's done in 5 minutes. To get it over onto the blog means that I have to pull out my laptop and I have to do all these things that are a little bit differently. The WordPress app kind of sucks. And I've used this as an excuse to not actually translate it over. And I'm going to stop doing that. So this month, my goal is to do a post on the site every single day, except for I'm still not doing stuff on Sundays. I think that having a day off is crucial, whatever it is that you do. And so for me, I'm still doing my no work, my no blogging, any stuff on Sundays. And so other than that, the goal is to do some sort of a mini post and then obviously continue to supplement it with videos and larger long form posts, podcast episodes, and some days you'll be getting more than just one, but to do at least a mini post so there's new content on the site every single day. Now, as far as what that does for you, if you're in a job that you don't love, that you don't really kind of get excited about or feel like it's something that is going to lead towards a long-term goal, then, and you know what, honestly, even if you do something that you love, because I love what I do. I love being with Beckett and Rob, but I believe in having multiple kind of side hustles going on. It's very fragile, going back to Antifragile, to just have one source of income. And so to be more protected against that randomness, it's important to have multiple. And so whatever it is that you do, I think you should have some sort of a side hustle. And whatever it is that your side hustle is, or that you want it to be, my challenge for you this month is to do something related to that every single day. And not just some like pithy effort, but really something that is a challenge. It's an attainable challenge, but it's something that actually requires some effort on your part so that you can actually turn that into a viable concept. So I don't care if it's a blog, a YouTube channel, if you're actually wanting to do something physical and tangible with your hands. My father-in-law loves to do leather work and photography. And so, Dan, if you're watching this, I challenge you to do that every single day. But honestly, whatever it is, if you have a little side hustle, if you have something that you want to do it every single day. And tell me about it. I want to know about it. I want to know how it's going. I want to know what your actual goal is that you want to do. I want to know what your struggles are. And so send me an email, or leave me a comment on this. I really want to know what it is about you guys that you decide you want to do with this, because it's fun and it's so much easier to keep your momentum going if you have other people that are in the same boat. So let me know what that is, and I'm really curious to find out. As far as this month's book, it is, oh man, I totally forgot the title now and it's on my phone. It's by Scott Adams, and he's the creator of Dilberts. And it's basically how to fail your way to success. And obviously that's not the title, I'm brain cramping, but I'll have a link on it down here below so that you can check it out. I'm already maybe 3 hours in, and it's another one that's really, really good. So much stuff that I've been able to glean from this already. He talks about not being afraid of failure, which is stuff that is really poignant for me right now. Recent videos have addressed this, and my own willingness to push myself further on my 30-day challenges. I hold back because I don't like failing. That's why I would never really got any good at riding a bike. I grew up riding BMX bikes, and I was never good at it. It's not because I was afraid of getting hurt. I just didn't want to suck, and so I didn't try, which is a totally stupid attitude. But he talks all about this, and there's this great chapter at the very beginning. I think it's like chapter 2 or 3, where he outlines all of his most epic failures. And then he talks about how those lead to him having more success. And he talks about the difference between systems and goals and all that. I mean, I'm not even a third of the way into this thing yet, and it's already great, and there's tons of good information in here. So I will have a link for you below, but check that out, because I think it's going to be a great book for the month. It's applicable in so many ways, and obviously that applies to your style as well. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid of going through that monotony, or not even the doldrums of not getting better, because sometimes, man, I'll tell you, like for me personally, 2015 has been kind of a year of stagnancy up until the last maybe 6 weeks. It's been a tough year in a lot of regards, and a lot of times I can use that as an excuse to not push myself further, which obviously leads to more stagnancy and mediocrity, and I'm just as guilty of the cycle as anybody else. So read the book, tell me what your challenge is. I've got links for everything below. I'm really excited to hear what it is that you guys are going to be doing, and let's feed off of each other. So I hope you liked the video. Please hit like, subscribe, leave me a comment. I want to know what it is that you're doing for the month, and we'll touch base again at the beginning of November.